Hello, everyone, everywhere. This is Pastor Robert Thibodeau. Welcome to your On the Air podcast and radio training program for today. And we are going to be talking about some things. We're ready to move on now. I want to talk to you today about what kind of equipment that you will need to do a podcast, a radio broadcast, even running your own radio station. We've made it to the point now where, we're talking about the equipment you'll need before you begin to effectively accomplish your goal, having your own radio program or podcast. Amen. We're through all that mind prep. Congratulations. We've taken our time to talk about the mental elements that need to be thought through. If you need to go back and listen to those videos again or watch those videos again, please do so. We talked about why online radio or podcasting is an effective way to get your thoughts or your business or your ministry, etc., out into the world as cost effectively as possible. We talked about why you want to start your podcast or why you wanted to start a radio program. We thought about thinking through what you would need to say and keeping things as short as possible, but yet effectively communicating your message and delivering value. Things like that, which will increase the likelihood that people will start listening to your podcast, which is what we want to, what we want to see accomplished anyway, right? We talked about being natural, just being you. Don't try to pretend to be somebody else. It's okay to copy some of their style and adapt it to your personality and your abilities, but don't try to mimic someone. If I got on here and talked like John Wayne or something like that in each and every podcast, people say, who is this guy? What's he trying to do? So just be yourself. Don't try and mimic them. It'll make you seem fake, and that translates into untrustworthy, and you definitely don't want to be labeled as being untrustworthy when you're trying to get your podcast to be listened to, okay? So we come now to what equipment you will need, not equipment you have. I don't know what you have. I'm talking about the equipment you need. Now, I love Macs. Since I switched from PC to a Mac, 16, 17 years ago, I haven't had accumulated in 16, 17 years the number of problems I was having in 1 year with a PC. But some people like PCs, and that's okay. I like Macs. That's what I work with. But if you feel more comfortable with a PC, let's just make sure that it will keep running with the processing needed to make your podcast or radio program possible. The most challenging part of a computer that it will have is keeping up with the processing power needed to do a recording, or if you're going live, to keep sending your audio out over the internet without freezing or skipping. The good news is, and this is good news if you have a PC, if you purchased a PC as recently as, say, 3 or 4 years ago, you're probably okay. If you have a Windows 8 or hopefully a 10 or above processor, for example, you're probably going to be okay. For Macs, if you have an OS 10, say Leopard, Mountain, Capitan, you're going to be okay. You should look at upgrading the RAM, though. That's the read-only memory. You should look, it doesn't matter which computer you have, PC or Mac, you need to upgrade the RAM. I would recommend to the maximum capacity that you can, regardless of a PC or Mac. This is going to help the processing speed your computer is going to be going through and that you need to have. Now, I would recommend at a minimum a processor with at least 2 to 4 gigs of RAM. And you should be okay with that. You need to also have a place to store your files. Now, if you store it on your computer, think about this. If you store, your audio and especially video takes up a lot of space. These files are huge. And you start doing 10, 20, 50 videos. Say you did one a day, 365 days. Those are huge storage problems on your computer. You're going to start running out of storage area. I use a server, what I call a server. It's another Mac Mini, and on that It's nothing. I don't use it for processing audio or anything like that. It is simply a storage device. We've maxed it out. And I've been using it for years, several years now. And it still isn't even at 25% capacity. And I house every file that I record on there, audio or video. I house all of the files for our radio station. We have over 40 different broadcasters that submit files every week. And it's been going on for 7 years. We haven't had 40 broadcasts for 7 years, but we're up to there now. But the 7 or 8 we started with, I still have their original files. Why would you be doing that? Because I've had some broadcasters ask me after a couple of years, hey, do you still have copies of these programs? Because I'd like to put them, send them out to my listeners and stuff myself. So sure. And what I do is I go to Dropbox and set up a special file just for them, and they can go onto the Dropbox account and download them. I do not allow access to the private server. That's our secure server. People will send me their files on our Dropbox account, and then I take those files, put them on the server. Those are the raw files. They're edited, then they're loaded back to the server, and then they're taken from the server to put on the radio station. Sounds like a lot. It's confusing. I'm getting way ahead of myself. We'll be covering that at some future video soon. But if you're going to be storing your files, you need to look at where you're going to store them at. Okay, you need to get them off that computer, because the more files you have on your computer, then the more power is going to be drained from your processor, and it's going to get to the point that your audio or your video is going to start freezing or skipping. Okay, so we talked about computer needs today. You definitely need a computer, obviously, right? So you need to have a computer that will handle the processing speed, whether Mac or PC. And if you have a relatively newer model with at least 2 to 4 gigabytes of RAM, you should be okay. All right, that's all the time we're going to have for this video today. I want you to go ahead and check the processing speed of your computer and make sure that you're able to handle what we're going to be talking about in the future. Now, that's all the time we have. Now, if you have a question, please email me, bob@ontheairradio.com, and let us know your question and we can cover it. Until next time, this is Bob Thibodeau reminding you, you can be on the air. And